A test of man's not how he deals with life where nothing's wrong, but how he copes when hope is gone while darkness and despair surround his every waking thought. How then he must go on to rise again as resolute to fill his lungs with air. Though night surrounds us all at times and life is often bleak, we're yet the masters of ourselves, and in that mastery we can choose to focus on our strengths and what makes us unique, and through the choices that we take, create who we will be. And when the darkness comes again, as winter falls in time, the noble and the truest friend shall be the one to climb, not to a height above himself, but to a one below, who reaches out to those who need a hand that says, I know. And when the test comes to an end, if ever he is asked, he can meet the gods as equals and tell them that he passed.
As artists, each of us individually, Aidan as a comedian and myself as a poet and Tiernan as a musician, it's like, since this has begun, we've been out of work, because we're not part of the conventional world. So because of that, we, collectively we needed a mission, something to give ourselves hope.
So there was no gigs, there was no way for us to earn the living. Our labour of love was impeded. So we wanted to do something positive because that's what we've dedicated our lives to do. How do we live doing what we love? And that's how it started. And with Tiernan had climbed a mountain.
I actually brought up a flag with me onto the sleeve in Éire, but it was a flag I had designed myself, which was the cauldron. Because I work with a cauldron, and the logo on that was Éire's Isle. So it was how I believe that this land belongs to Éire. This is Éire. I don't see it as Ireland. It's Éire. And there was a flag put up there. And then, as I got chatting with Aidan and Stephen, we together conjured an idea.
On the road, somewhere in Antrim, no idea where, visibility fairly poor. There's Killian's car there in front of us. Tiernan doing the driving. How are you today, Tiernan? Any old crack?
Yeah, crack is mighty.
Yeah.
On our way to Troston Mountain, the highest point in County Antrim.
How are you, lads?
I called around to Tiernan's of a Saturday in Fermanagh at his gaff in Bleak, and I just called up to see him, just say hello, and then he said, "Oh, Aidan's landing on," and so the three of us sat down over tea.
And we said, "Oh, let's climb the mountains, the highest point of every county, or else the most, the highest spiritual point." That's what we were looking for.
And Aidan, being the huge driving force that he is, was like, why don't we do 32 in 32?
Let's do 32 in 32 days. Sure, why not? 32 counties, 32 days, 32 flags.
So we agreed, and Stephen took out a pen and paper, and we just there and then just drew out the names, got onto DuckDuckGo and found out the names of the mountains.
We mapped out the counties. We sort of researched which was the highest points. There was a couple along the pilgrimage which we didn't actually use the highest points, but we used points of historical interest, like, for example, the Hill of Allen, which is where Finn's birthplace was.
Energetic points that we're drawn to, Lugh and Limerick was another example where it just felt like the right place. that was the most important thing, because we were honouring the land, we were feeling it as we went.
Yeah, somewhere on the way to Kildare, the Hill of Allen.
Hill of Allen this morning, yeah.
Hill of Allen, yeah. The plan is to get the Hill of Allen done today, and then get Brandon Hill in Kilkenny done after that. Hill of Allen, assembling the flag. Fair play to you lads.
Hill of Allen. This is where Fionn McCool was born and where he lived. It was the seat of the Fianna, the warriors who protected the people of Ireland. And this is what they've done to it. They've cut it apart. They've ripped into it.
What's that about? So that's not a symptom of Ireland. Not really sure what is. Plundered. Hill of Allen done. Kind of sad really with the quarry, but sure, the flag is up in honour of the ancestors that came before.
It just kind of snowballed into just this tour of the country, just this mad adventure. What a beautiful way to see Ireland, you know, to rise above the madness of our times, you know, like quite literally, you know, to take the higher ground.
And then the following day, we went to see Sam, the Shanachie.
Aidan called and he says, I want to go for a walk today. We'll go for the walk today. I'm going to bring 2 lads with me from Belik. And I was like, yeah, the more the merrier. And then they arrived in here to the shed, the 3 of them. And yeah, it's pretty much straight off the bat, I reckon these people are insane. Getting out of the car, thought these 3 people are lunatics. I think this could be the beginning of a great friendship. But we decided to climb Slieve Dain, and I take them to the heart of the dreaming, where the story began, where heroes are born and die. Slieve Dain, the Hill of the 2 Birds, is the woman's mountain, and within it, beneath the navel cairn on top of the hill, which is her pregnant belly, is a cave. That's where heroes go to be dismembered by the old woman of winter, and then remembered in culture and rebirthed into the consciousness that makes us who we are, I suppose, whatever you want to call it. The land, the story.
And we were halfway up, like it was a 6-hour hike, and we were holding our boots, walking through the sludge like it was a swamp up to your knees, and we were going through this, and we were halfway up a mountain, and it was getting dark, you know, the darkness was coming.
We had to kind of just take our shoes and socks off, because we were basically crawling through mud and water, you know. It was not a sort of dry hike.
And I could see Stephen and Tiernan behind, you know, whispering to each other, and I suppose it becoming a bit dark, not just physically, it was getting a bit like we're lost. We're passing the Fairy River, and you know, there were stories of 3 kings going up the mountain and only 2 coming back. It was the mountain where kings were eaten. And I suppose we could feel a bit nervous, and the lad said, "Is Sam all right?" And I said, "Are you sure he's going to get us where we need to go? Because we would have been stuck there. He was our guide." And I said, absolutely, 100%. And then a few minutes later, Sam goes, "I think I'm lost."
I was bringing these 3 lads up, and there was a good chance one of us weren't coming down. Yeah, that became kind of apparent shortly into the trip when I lost my way. Tiernan was worried that it was him that wasn't coming back.
This is not necessarily the highest point in Leitrim, but it was the birthplace and of myself, Stephen and Aidan, because it is the womb of Éire.
What I call the complex of the hills there, my attention was brought to it at a very young age. by my uncle, the original wood carver, my uncle Michael Quirk, and he always described it and carves it as Ireland, Éire. There she is, her breasts and womb, and beneath the womb is her cauldron of plenty. Éire means abundance or plentifulness. And you can see this form in the landscape in Sligo. You can see the mound of her belly and the breasts, which are marked by the Neolithic people with cairns to accentuate them. But what you can't see from Sligo is there's a cauldron hidden in the mountain. And from her womb, she gives birth, to our culture, which is represented here in the carving by the salmon of knowledge. I found a lake that is her cauldron. It's shaped like a cauldron. Found the ferry road, the ferry crossroad, the road of souls that takes the pilgrims along the course of the river and up into the mountains and into the stars and beyond. And the cave itself, where the dream was born, which is known as the home of the Cailleach, the home of the old woman.
Coming onto higher ground, you could see that it was indeed like, you're looking into a lady's womb, and there within that place was a cave.
Can you see it as our ancestors saw it? The first people that came here saw this in the landscape and were so overwhelmed by it, so inspired by it, that they built and constructed and sculpted the landscape to accentuate what was there.
So what's happening here?
Well, Sam just asked the fairies to cut, if it was okay for us to cross, and my phone is now ringing with no caller coming through.
The dead in times gone by were taken when they died and dismembered, because this was the ritual practice thousands of years ago. I had this feeling that it was in this cave that it took place. It's foreboding. The body is dismembered and the soul is remembered.
He brought us down into the cave, into the womb of Éire, where it all began, And he had the sword with him on Fragrach, the answer. And he said, choose your question when you go into the womb, and Éire will answer. And I was going, well, who am I?
Yeah, I think it was then, like the lad says, like we were cemented as brothers, cemented as one from a group of broken men that went up the mountain. They went up a hill and came down a mountain.
And that was the first mountain, and that's where we started, in beautiful County Sligo.
Tiernan, what's this?
This is an exact replica, I would say, of the original Round Towers of Ireland. I don't know specifications, but just some general feel to it. That looks very similar to the one at Inishculture, or also the O'Rourke's Tower in Clonmacnoise. I've long held a dream to rebuild all the round towers of Ireland, and I came across the writings of a man called Philip Callaghan, who came to Bleak, which was actually where I've been living now for the last 10 years in Fermanagh, and he was a radio operator and he used to listen to frequencies, and he discovered that at certain times of the year there would be, at certain times of the night, frequencies would change. And he also realised that insects are able to navigate across the through the air by tuning in to these frequencies. He discovered that the round towers of Ireland are working in the same way like an insect's antenna works to navigate the ionosphere. So these round towers that were built in Ireland, they're acting as antenna, they're also transmitting and receiving information. Say for example, say you had an acre of land and you built a tower to the old specifications that were used. They used particular stone, it was paramagnetic stone, they used quartz within it, they used it to certain diameters. I don't know the specifics of it. But it's proven that if you place that, say, into an acre of land, you're going to quadruple your growth. So it's bringing in energy from the ionosphere through this sort of antenna-like sort of structure, and bringing in energy into the earth. It's having a reaction which is beneficial. And also what he discovered was that they were a map, and they were a mirror of the stars. So a bit like how we understand the Mayans and the Incas to have built pyramids and so on, that mirror constellations that we're familiar with in the night sky, so too were the round towers of Ireland. Now when I read this 12 or 13 years ago, I thought, that's just incredible. You know, we've put so much out there and we think, oh, the Egyptians had it, but actually here in Ireland, we had this knowledge. And I wondered myself what it would be like had I unlimited access to funds to be able to rebuild all of the towers of Ireland, and to see how Ireland would buzz, what energy would be brought about returning to the land if we're able to do this. It felt like there was a huge darkness that was coming onto the earth. You know, freedoms being restricted for people, and just generally the mood and the atmosphere of the whole land seemed very dark and dour. And I suppose the reasoning for the action that we took in November was born out of feeling this.
I have absolutely no idea if that sort of thing works. The idea of planting poles that look like antennas to attract lightning, so the lightning hits the ground and wakes up the nation. I have no idea if it works. But I'll tell you one thing, it's definitely more effective than going around town with dirty rags on your face. So the way I saw it as well, if I get out and I'm with my friends and I'm in nature and I'm climbing mountains in the protection of prayer, I'm good at that. Now if lightning hits one of those flags and it does happen to bring the power of God, heaven to earth, Tiernan O'Rourke back to Ireland, well, great. And if it doesn't, well, it was a good experience anyway. We took with us 2 poles, one large scaffolding pole.
And then within that we placed between like 6 and 8 foot piece of flexible rebar to act as a sort of antenna.
There's like a thinner, like a male and a female, so we put them together and we, put in some rocks or wood, to push them down so it stays there. And we put on a flag. We put on the flag, the beautiful green Irish flag.
The green of the emerald, the Emerald Isle, the association, again going back to the idea of Ireland as the heart of the world, and the emerald is the stone of the heart chakra. So there's the green of the flag, but Éire as the sovereign goddess, and then obviously the harp for culture, which has been as unemployed and unemployable artist in so many respects. That was that part was for ourselves, through the music, through the comedy, through the poetry. Ireland has always been the female form. We are a land of artists. We are a land of sensitive souls in so many ways. And maybe sometimes we're inclined to forget that. But I do. I see Ireland as the heart mother, and honouring that and respecting that. And again, like that was the purpose of the needles. Ironically enough, I suppose. To plant those needles, those acupuncture points within her.
On the placing of them in the earth, we placed our arms around each other and we said the Our Father, Oscuelga.
For us, we wanted to have a prayer, and the prayer that we knew between us was the Our Father, the Lord's Prayer. And Stephen can speak the tongue. We felt like it should be Irish because that's the language of this land, and that's what we wanted to call back into, that vibration. And so Stephen could speak Irish, and Tiernan's not too bad at it, so he was learning it. He was a bit ahead of me. So by the end of it took me a while. By the end of it, every day I'd improve and get another line. So we'd be saying the Our Father, Oscuelga. And at the start of the mountain for protection, and then, at the top of the mountain, then with the intention when we planted the flag, and then again when we got to the bottom in gratitude if we made it back alive. And so far so good.
On a har, tar and av, relief for Danham, Dagger the Rig, into the hall there.
And we asked that heaven come to earth. And I suppose the reason we did this is because we felt, or I felt, very much like the land needed retuning.
Honouring Éire by planting these acupuncture points within the greater body of the island to allow her to heal for the ancestral trauma that she's suffered over the years, over the centuries and millennia, and to honour the land.
Coming up through Tyrone, I think, at the minute. We in Tyrone, yeah? Yeah, it seems to be in Tyrone. Coming through the Spurrins now, just coming through the mountains, and on the way to Saul Mountain today, which is the border between Derry and Tyrone. So we'd be bringing up a couple of flags with us and planting them when we land. All is well. How are you, Tiernan? How are you getting on? How's the ma? Okay, Queen Will too. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling happy to our sorrow. I'm feeling peaceful. I'm feeling like I'm doing the right thing at the right time.
Yeah, it feels like this journey is important. We're doing well so far. Google Maps is leading us on a merry dance along the way. Nagging, and nagging again. But apart from that, yeah, we'll have the waterproofs on in a little while. Aidan's behind us in the car, and the three of us are bailing up the highest peak in both Derry and Tyrone today, and all is well.
We got so blessed by the weather by the first week was just everywhere we went. It was just rainbows, rainbows, rainbows. Like this double rainbow over Slieve League was just one of the most beautiful sights, like with photos and stuff of it. But just gorgeous, you know. And Slieve League for me is such an amazing place. Anyway, I was just honoured to be able to introduce the lads had never been. So that was like the second climb, going up Slieve League, and yeah, it was just class, you know. It was class, and it was, the whole thing was a getting to know you adventure as well. I didn't really know the lads before starting, you know. I knew them, but I didn't, you know. It's a good way to get to know somebody. Spend a month climbing mountains with them, you know. It's yeah, it comes with its challenges, but you know, it brings you closer together as well. Like,
What can be said that words can capture? And everything you need to know is in the top of Slieve League.
Hello, boo.
When Ireland's sons and daughters are all assembled there, the young, the old, the brave and the bold.
Praying out loud isn't something that I'd be accustomed to, you know, especially with strangers. It's not something we did really. Like even in school, if we ever had to do it, it would have been sort of racing through it, you know. But to be sincere, to stand out and say, yeah, this is what I'm doing, this is my intention, this is who I am. That at the start was a little bit, I'm a bit unaccustomed to outside my comfort zone. And I suppose with the lads doing it together, we grew in strength. And when we had that between us, you know, when two people or more come in my name, then others came. And, you know, there might be people we never met before in the mountain. And we're like, how do they feel about this? But what I noticed, or what I felt, what I realized was that it resonated with the core in their soul. And people have been longing this. And, you know, that they love it. They have a strong connection with God, whatever they perceive God to be in their hearts. And to be able to go out there into nature and to land and show appreciation under the powerful umbrella of prayer is a gift, you know, that maybe was taken from us in some ways from the church or whatever we've done in the past.
Beauty of Connemara. We're heading towards Diamond Hill. We're approaching halfway on our leg of the tour. Stephen Murphy at the wheel.
How we doing?
God help us all.
Hello, I'm up climbing mountains. That's what I'm doing for November 2021, climbing the mountains of Ireland, reaching the highest point in each county, reaching out for the spirit world, for divine intervention. I have to admit, like, one of the reasons I'm climbing the mountains is to get away from what's going on in the cities. Segregation, cafes, bars, restaurants, asking people for papers so they can have a cup of tea or a sandwich. So anyway, I just thought I'd share that with you before I climb this mountain. Have a lovely day. Imagine that, you know, we're not allowed into venues with other people because we're seen as a danger. And we wanted to stay away from that kind of energy. Although it did happen now and again. In Galway, we climbed a mountain and we came back down Diamond Hill, put the mountain, did the flag. It was a long old walk, and it was beautiful. We came down and we went into a bar, and it looked okay because the staff weren't wearing masks and they weren't doing the thing at the front. We went in, sat down, and they came over and asked us for the paperwork, and we were like, no thanks, we don't need that. We'll just have, you know, 6 soups and, you know, 6 pints Guinness. And anyway, we said, no, you need, and we ended up having to leave. I'm at a beautiful pub in Connemara. We went in for a pint. There's a rugby game on, and we weren't really going to watch the game, but one of us was. We were just going to have a pint and have some soup, but they asked us for paperwork, which we didn't have, and we were offended. But, you know, it didn't make a scene. We went outside and we're sitting outside. They said we're allowed to sit outside, to have a pint and some food. So that's where we're at. We had a long winter last time, you know, our businesses were taken from us, our ability to perform was taken from us. It was a heavy time, and we didn't want to face another winter with that heaviness. So for us, getting onto the mountain was getting above that. It was going beyond it, getting closer to the heavens. So we would often not ignore the subject, but we didn't allow ourselves get dragged down into it. So whether there was someone who chose to be vaccinated or someone who chose not to be vaccinated on with us, you know, we wouldn't avoid the truth, but we would focus on the positive of the community that's getting us the mission.
We'd climbed Slieve Donard and down and brought the chicken carcass up for the ravens. You know, Tiernan was insistent upon feeding the ravens, and Slieve Donard was since renamed Slieve Feochtdubh. You know, the mound of the ravens.
I took with me a chicken carcass in my pocket, and we're walking up Slieve Donard, Feochtdubh, and said to Aidan, says, I'm going to meet the raven today. And he says, what do you mean? And I says, I just know I'm going to meet the raven today. And he said, well, what makes you say that? And I said, I brought a chicken carcass for the raven. And he kind of looks at me like, you know, I'm a bit mad. Yeah, this is for the raven, because the raven is death, and death has been denied, like the raven has been denied. But it's through the acceptance of death and the raven that we honour the raven with the food. There's always been a fear of death, what's going on now in the world. We're not going to live forever. I think, you know, if we can find a different way of dealing with death, it's maybe to honour death rather than to pretend death isn't walking amongst us. That we might actually live a fuller life instead of living in fear. And traditionally, our culture, we would have taken our dead to the high places, and the carrion eaters, the raven and the crow, would come and peck away.
I've been through my own personal hell over the last couple of years through incredibly serious illness, you know, through major surgery on Bridges Day last year, you know. Literally, I went in for surgery for what I thought was going to be 2 hours of, like, I was told it was going to be keyhole surgery. And I woke up 9 hours later, stitched up from my chest to my bollocks. Very, very ill, you know. Yeah, I faced down my own death. So people see that as kind of, wow, you're in a place of vulnerability, or you know, but until you realise your own mortality, can you realise your own life. So to do this after being through what I've been through was a way of going, fuck yous all, I'm still here.
The architect that built your will was the same sad suck you've tried to kill.
Morning, brother. Harry Hoban and the brothers Kane on the way to Croagh Patrick, boy. That's the job, man. Sending love, you're with us in spirit.
Croagh Patrick, I mean, that's memorable because it's Croagh Patrick, and so many people I've heard people talk about it my whole life, and I've never done it. And sure, my partner did it in her bare feet, and I don't know, it took 4 or 5 hours up and down, and it was wet and cold, and even with your shoes on. But that was memorable for us because it was one of the big ones, and I think it was around the halfway mark, and we knew that it was, once we had that done, we'd broken the back of the mission, the 32 mountains.
Here we are now in Ticknock, County Dublin. Just beside a cairn, we have the flag there. You can hear the sound of victory. That's the sound. That's my brother Stephen and Tiernan. That's the cairn.
The road's a bit bumpy, but here we are now, coming through the wilds of Carlow on the journey. Mount Leinster done today. all 800 metres of it or whatever it is. Feeling fairly positive about the whole experience. We weren't looking forward to it yesterday. We were going, Jesus, that's going to be a tough one. And it was a tough one, to be fair. We were, the climate wasn't good. We got kind of drenched, a bit hypothermic, but we got changed up when we got back to the van. And I hadn't them a week till I got boils on me legs. And I swear, bloody Christ, they were as big as an egg. They were orange on top and the bottoms were blue. And them queer pair of trousers that came from Belcoo. Tooraloo, tooraloo. Them second pair of trousers that came from Belcoo.
For me, it was just really reassuring in a time of, I suppose, just personal chaos, you know, after what I'd been through, to meet these lads who were mad enough to undertake this mission with me, and that sense of solidarity and companionship along the way, to actually, to be mad enough to actually go, right, here's what we're doing, and fuck the begrudgers.
Hello, Lugh. Hi, Tiernan. Where are we going?
We're going to Éire, the highest point between the counties of Lugh and Offaly.
On the way, where were we at last night?
I was being well behaved. I left the party early, but left you two delinquents to mop up the mess you were making.
Where are we today?
We're in Aidan, the Aidan Mountains.
Sleep Blooms.
Well, it could be argued that it's Lugh, could be argued that it's Offaly. Some say it's both. So we're going to do both of them today.
Right. Tiernan, how are you feeling about this?
I'm feeling great.
Yeah?
Main thing is the sun is shining.
We got the weather, lads, anyway. Yeah. Another day, another fucking cloud. I awoke in California.
County Lugh. Alright.
Hi, what are you saying about flags, boy? Is it you that put that up there, is it? I fucking saw you. Oh yeah. Me. And yous are not getting any of it, you fucking.
County off. Come on, lads. Alright. Shin. Here we are now, coming back from County Lugh. Lugh and Offaly done.
Hell yeah!
Songs were sang, prayers were prayed. And men fell in the bogs. But we're all coming back. Despite the weather, we're blessed with a drop of rain, and we're going home. We've only got 9 counties left, 9 flags to plant, and then sanity comes back to planet Earth, and heaven comes down to Earth. That's it. We just saved the world one flag at a time.
And I was saying it to the lads and to a few others as well, it's like, when you meet people on the mountains, you meet their spirit. When you meet people in a city, you meet their ego.
How are we feeling there, Tiernan?
It's one of the low points in my life.
Are you having a rest or what?
I just feeling the land, you know. The land is making a bit of a connection here. But
in the words of John Moriarty, unless there is wildness around you, something terrible happens to the wildness inside of you.
oh, that's the truth. That is the truth.
How are you, Bros?
Slightly wet.
My hands are shaking with the cold. Let's get back to the van.
Here we are now at the Long Woman's grave in County Louth. And Kathleen, a woman, a Spanish woman, a noble woman, a giant if you will, 7'1", 2 inches smaller than Lorcan. And Lorcan said, look, you're now the woman in charge of it, all of this land, all the land you can see. And when she heard about all the segregation going on in Ireland, she died on the spot and she was buried here. She said, her last words were, I'll have no part in apartheid. I don't know if it makes a difference or not. You know, the physical action of the steel poles with the flag. But I suppose spiritually, I believe that can never be taken down. Like the winds will blow the flags away and there'll just be bits of metal left up in mountains. But ultimately, spiritually, that was called in, and that, you know, we called in this place, in this high point, you know, boom, this is what we're calling in. Love, not fear, you know, healing, not sickness, truth, not lies, you know, freedom, not enslavement. And that's what we're living. We're living that best we can at a time where there seems to be some energy, some force that many are just going along with, that seems to be working really, really hard to take love and community and freedom away from us. People who are healthy are acting as if they're sick. People who are claiming to have love are telling people that they won't see them anymore. And that's not something I want to be part of. You know, so what do I want to be part of? And that's where I come into this.
And how's your energies there, Stephen?
The energy levels?
Yeah, how are you coping?
I'm tired, man, to be honest. Yeah. Pretty tired. But we're on 25, this is number 26. And yeah, kind of looking forward. Part of me is looking forward to having Cork done tomorrow. So we've got a wee bit of rest to recuperate a bit and just get the energy levels just kind of, yeah, get the rest in, because it's been kind of full on. But great. Sure, how would you be in a day like that? What about you? How are you, Kilkenny? Look. Magic. It's magic. It's going to look even better from up the top.
Up we go. What are you doing, Tiernan?
I'm breaking wood for a fire.
Why are you lighting a fire?
Because we got lost coming down from the mountain, and now we're in car park B instead of A, or the other way around.
I think we're in A.
We're in A and we should be in B. So
this is how we got in this place in the first place.
So we're now, like good scouts, lighting a fire to keep the spirits up and keep ourselves warm.
Is that even legal though? We have our own fire lit as we're waiting for the taxi driver to save us. The good news is the taxi driver has found the car. He just hasn't found us, and then he rang us to ask us for directions.
Knockboy in Cork was just absolutely stunning. In the middle of, I can't even remember what point in November it was. I think it was late enough in the month, and we just got the most glorious day for it, like absolutely glorious. And I think that was it. I think it was the 6th of us that day, yeah. And we just got the most perfect day for a hike, and the sun was absolutely like splitting the sky, and it's just this incredibly beautiful place down in possibly the most remote part of Cork, you know. And but there's so many beautiful moments. I don't know, but particularly the eagles lining the way just felt like that, you know. Give yourself to the universe and it will light your way. Just little symbols along the way to say thank you, you know, energetically.
Right, Aidan, what are you at there?
an offering for the ravens. It's an offer for the ravens here at the top of County Cork. What mountain are we on?
Knockboy.
Knockboy.
The Yellow Hill.
We need this for the ravens. As a little gift to show respect. Score! Score!
Nicely done, brother.
The one in Leitrim, you know, where the two of the Dannon landed, that was kind of special as well, because Tiernan had a flag halfway up, and the mission was to go get the flag that was already there, and then the three of us bring it up, and the people with us. There was a crew of us, 9 or so people. There's poems on the top.
This is a good time to tell the story about Slieve na Éire, right, if you're filming, because Slieve na Éire in the 1930s, it was reported in the newspapers, and you can find it on Google, that French wizards came to Éire and they gave the villagers the story that they were going to set up a mine and loads of people were going to be in work, the same way they did with the fracking and all those lies. And the villagers of Éire agreed. These French wizards, as the newspaper headline, set up a mine shaft on the summit of Slieve na Éire, the Iron Mountain, and I think there was work there for about 10 people for about 3 months, and then basically the wizards left, and they left with something that they removed from Slieve na Éire and the Iron Mountain, and the villagers of Éire felt the whole energy of the land was destroyed. And Éire is actually a very depressed area. I've lived here myself for a year. I was fairly depressed, I have to say. And I believe it's because something very special was taken from the mountain. The heart of the mountain was removed. Now, the story continues, because in 1945, at the end of the Second World War, when Hitler was supposedly discovered in his lair, whether he was discovered or not, what was discovered was a stone that was found in the bunker with Hitler, and that stone was dated and geographically placed to coming from a mountain in Leitrim. And my suspicion is that what was taken was a powerful item. And it was, yeah. Totem. Well, it was maybe the heart of the mountain itself. And then was misused. That power was misused, and that brought about the rising of the darkness of the Reich.
I remember going down into it, and going down quite a good bit into it, and yeah, I'd love to go back there, and bringing the heart back to Slieve na Éire, but bringing the heart back to Ireland again. You know, Ireland. I remember talking to a friend of mine, Brendan, before, many years ago. I saw him recently, but he was talking about Ireland as in shamanic circles. Ireland is regarded as the spiritual heart of the world, and the idea is that if you can light up Ireland, that the world will follow. So bringing that heart back, coming back to a place of heart, you know, that's what we need to aspire to.
It's just the melody has been going around in my head all the week, and I just added a couple of verses this morning just to bring it out. Once upon a time there was Irish ways and Irish laws, villages of Irish blood, waking in the morning, waking in the morning. Then the Vikings came around, turned us up and turned us down, started building boats and towns. They tried to change our living, tried to change our living.
28th of November, and we're here in the Greenstone Circle in Limerick, on the way to Lugh. Just waiting to meet a few people. We're walking around this place 7 times. 7 wishes. And yeah, there are blessings everywhere. My favourite climb is probably, well, on a very personal level, it's Lugh, because my young fella came up, Rowan came up, you know. And yeah, that for me was just a big moment, you know. Having the little man along meant a lot to me, you know. And it wasn't the biggest climb, you know. Energetically, Lugh is a very powerful place, so you know, it was a beautiful climb in its brevity, I suppose. But energetically, just to have my young fellow with me, because you know, it's the light of my world. So Jesus, it's hard to shut up the culchies. As a culchie myself, that's the it's called Rowan.
This man has a young lad,
yeah. This is for any parents in the audience. Yeah, it's a poem called. We called him Rowan because the Rowan tree was in bloom on the day he was born, so he kind of named himself. But it's also known as a sonnet to the newborn baby. If I could tell you anything,
and think you'd understand, I'd tell you that in all the years I've grown to be a man, I've never known a greater sign of God's omnipotence, nor a single moment in my life that made such perfect sense as the second, when I held you for the first time in my palm, your body pressed against my chest, your precious little hand that curled itself around my thumb and taught me more right then than any book has ever done or likely will again. But I might never tell you this, because sometimes words can't show the full extent of all there is between us as we grow. But know this, when you need me, I will be where you will be, to help you in your journey from a sapling to a tree. And there within the forest, as your roots grow strong and deep, I will guide you as you wake and protect you as you sleep. Sinead. Yeah, it's a Fulcher Road.
Karen Toohill on the way somewhere towards McGillicuddy Reeks at the minute. Cormac's out in front. There's a clatter of ones behind us. Carolan's here beside me. How are you?
I'm good.
What are you at?
Getting ready to go up the mountain.
Not so bad. How are you, Tiernan? Tiernan's driving at the minute.
What it was all about is like to be the better self, you know. And I think that's the mission that we need to be on as individuals and as a collective, is to step into our best self and away from the chaos and the destructive self that's easier.
But this was maybe like one tiny little fractal of a tiny little effort towards making a difference, so we can all go back to living, or go forward into living into a place where we're supporting one another and genuinely having leaders amongst ourselves to create a better future with nature and together. Well, then I'll do that. But until you give me something that I can actually do, I don't want to just sit there hating and shouting, that's wrong, you're wrong, because that doesn't help. It's not helping.
Decided that this is our last mountain, 32nd mountain. Karen Toohill, Kerry. We're surrounded by beautiful people. We've got very talented, good-hearted people with us today.
Well, I think it's kind of hopeful if you can get people to work together for a serious challenge and complete it successfully. That was hopeful for me, and I think it was hopeful, for others to see that we can work together and we can do it. We can do it in a peaceful manner.
Hope is the most powerful seed that there is, and I think it should be planted wherever possible. And for me, what this was an offering of hope.
We've called in intentions, strong intentions, under the power of prayer. Love, truth, freedom and healing at each flag in 32 high points of Ireland, and a few men together. And in most places there was other people with us, and we did it with sincerity and strength and unity. The honor and the strength in prayer as a group, to come there with a set intention and people come together. This is our genuine prayer, and I don't mean reciting words that are learnt off. I mean energetically going, yes, let's bring heaven onto earth. This is coming from our heart now. That's indestructible. Our bodies will be gone, and this house will be gone in 100 years, and in 1,000,000 years Ireland will sink, and in 1,000,000,000,000 years the sun will be gone, or whatever amount of time. Ultimately, there's always a beginning and an end within the limitations of time. But in the spirit world, that's indestructible. That's forever. And that's a feeling, that's a reality. The rest of it's just and in that reality, in that place of spirit, it's a whoa.
Like all life is, if for want of a way, a pilgrimage. That particular month was an accelerated journey, and I'm not a Christian, I'm not Buddhist, I'm not Muslim. What I do recognise is that there's something bigger. There's something way bigger than me. Look, sure, we're under the foot of this mountain. It's massive. It's humbling.
Again, proaction rather than reaction. We're also addicted to the paradigm of the online realm, to the metaverse, as they're calling it now, or whatever. And there's a danger that within that we lose touch with objective reality. And it's when you put the screen down and actually step back into your own power as a sovereign, objective creature in the world around you, and rise above, climb your own mountains, within and without, plant your own flags, conquer the self, and if it can be a symbol for that alone, because everybody's got their mountains and everyone's got their battles, everyone's got their struggles and nothing about, and it costs nothing to be decent and to be kind.
I gained the knowledge that meaningful purpose is essential in our life. If you get men, and I presume women too, and you give them something that they believe is good, and when I say good, I mean it's good for them and for those around them. It offers something positive in the world, raises people's spirits, makes people healthier. If you're doing something that is genuinely positive, that you're sure is, it gives you so much more strength, meaningful purpose. You get up and you want to do it. You're proud of it. You're proud of your actions. And all the other stuff dissipates. All the noise, this is what we're doing, boom. The strength of that focus, and the world opens up to serve this purpose.
People will take from it what they will, That's not for me to impose upon others what they will take from it.
And so for us, that end thing is we've made it. And it's not that like that self-destructive thing in Ireland where, there's going to be a battle or there's going to be something, and all of a sudden, at the last moment, they mess it up because some fella doesn't deliver the message, or someone gets drunk, or there's an act of betrayal. Whatever challenge we had, we got there through all of them together, and at the end we planted that flag.
Respect the mountain on the way. The spirit of the mountain is strong. People have been lost up here, so it is a victory and a time to celebrate and be happy. But also, let's not let complacency get in the way of partying later on.
Let's get down safely. We're going to leave an offering for the ravens here as well. So they've been talking here on the way to Stair Mountain. So let's just make a quick prayer and let's just get safely down from the mountain. Who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil.
There was one more flag, a flag that was brought to Newgrange on the winter solstice, which is the darkest and the longest day of the year. And on that day where the good people of Éire were coming to celebrate the arrival of the light and the return of Lugh, and it so happened that RTE TV were there to capture that moment.
Our people gathered at Newgrange in County Meath from early this morning to celebrate the winter solstice, the astronomical phenomenon which marks the shortest day and the longest night of the year. Cloudy skies meant that the sun's rays did not illuminate the chamber of the 5,000-year-old passage tomb.
Today, the rising sun didn't break the clouds, but the magic of a winter solstice at Newgrange was still very much in the air.
Just a release of the darkness of last year and a welcoming of the light for what's coming next.
The presence of people, especially this year, just made it so much more overwhelming. And when we were broadcasting out live to the world, we could hear all of this soundscape behind us, and the celebrations and the happiness of people to be here was wonderful.
This time last year there was Frank and I and a small crew on site and nobody else, everybody watching online, and this year we're all out celebrating.
There will be another live stream from Newgrange tomorrow, but on this, the shortest day, the mood has been lightened, if not the sky. Philip Bromwell, RTE News.
There's a land that is brighter than the sun, and I can see it with my heart, and one day I will return there when my work here is done, and I will try to make this place my home, as long as I know I'm not alone. But in those times when I feel so weary, I close my eyes and see Tiernan O'Rourke, Tiernan O'Rourke, Tiernan O'Rourke, Tiernan O'Rourke, Tiernan O'Rourke.
Fuck that up.